starting from secure, going outward in terms of what needs to happen to repair it. Secure, then dismissing. When we talk about a mentalizing frame, 6 or higher on the 1 to 9 frame for secure people, 4 to 5 on the dismissing, 3 to 4 on the preoccupied. Once you hit the trauma line, disorganized people tend to mentalize at 3 or lower, often 2 or lower. So low mentalizing. So you can't really do that thing that we need you to do, which is to understand what it is that you're experiencing in the present moment and what meaning you've associated with it. The second piece is, what about that experience do you want to share with someone else, and how would you share it? So the transliteration process. The third level is the expression of it and understanding whether they have understood what you meant, and then receiving their response and making sure that you understand their response. And then the fourth one is to modify your understanding of the relationship in the moment. But if you don't mentalize well enough, you can't do any of that. And so you're simply reacting to these initial understandings of what's happening. Disorganization is dissociation. That's the deciding factor of it, the key feature of unresolved attachment. And so we talk about this in big T trauma versus small t trauma. Big T trauma are single event traumas, which are disorganizing, and small t trauma are developmental traumas, small cumulative traumas that run the course of a lifetime, usually hundreds or thousands of events that are traumatic for the child. Most disorganized people have both big T and small t trauma, but you could have a secure person with big T trauma that is unresolved around a single event in their lives, but the whole rest of the narrative is coherent and understood. It is not the difficult or painful experience that suggests a lack of resolution, but a lapse of reasoning around the difficult or painful experience. So it isn't that secure people or organized people don't have traumatic events happen to them. It's whether or not they're able to integrate them into their system. One of the things that dissociation does is it takes the event out of the timeline, out of the coherent narrative, so it's a timeless state. So the main way that we repair dissociation is by integrating it into the narrative, the coherent narrative, and into the timeline, so that past events are experienced as having been in the past, which is often not the case with dissociation. We tend to use Onno van der Hart's model of structural dissociation, which he has written about in a book called The Haunted Self, if you're interested in dissociation. In structural dissociation, you have structures which I like to call the perceptual procedural database. He calls them the apparent normal part, or the apparent normal personality part. That one database. People who are not dissociative tend to have one database which is fully integrated. So if you remember that process where we understand the present moment, we have the capacity to sense something. The object can be sensed when there's contact. Consciousness of that sensing experience arises. It's evaluated for urgency. Does it need immediate attention? Does it not matter if we get to it? Is there time for a pleasant experience, which creates a queue of processing? Urgent, always at the top, always superseding everything else. When a sense experience gets to the top of the queue, it's compared to the perceptual database. And if there's an entry in the database that matches closely enough to the pattern of experience, the whole thread of meaning in that database attaches. The way that human memory works is that similar items are stored next to similar items in the way that the mind categorizes them in these long threads of memory, some of which go all the way back into early childhood. If it's a novel experience, a new thread begins. But each time there's an experience that's similar to the novel experience, making it no longer novel, it's associated with the thread.